Disaster Report 4: Summer Memories. A survival/adventure game that leaves players to sort through the rubble of a destroyed city after a series of massive earthquakes occur. This review is brought to you by Checkpoint MediaWorks, a gaming news company that strives to shine a light on gaming's hidden gems. We would also like to give a thank you to NIS America for generously providing the copy of the game. Disaster Report 4 casts the player into the role of a civilian trying to survive the destruction and debris of earthquakes continuously occurring throughout the game, while also managing several basic survival needs such as food, water, and cleanliness. The game places a large emphasis on interacting with other people, learning their stories, and ultimately making the decision to aid or hinder others in your quest for survival. Disaster Report 4 was developed by Drexellence and was originally developed for the PlayStation 3, and graphically, it shows, with a lot of the game's character models and visuals looking a little outdated. However, I do want to mention that with the PC version of the game, I didn't experience any frame rate issues, unlike its console counterparts, which have random load screens and abhorrent frame rates, sometimes dropping down to 18 FPS. Disaster Report is different from other action games, as the action in the game seems to take a back seat to the more in-depth story building and decision-making the game entails. In order to progress the story, players will generally have to interact with certain characters scattered around the map, and engage in a range of dialogue choices that will not only shape your character, but also affect the world around you. I believe this is where the game shines best, as the game gives you a lot of freedom when it comes to dialogue choices, with options ranging from heroic, concerned, and sympathetic, all the way to trollmaster and supervillain even. Or you could simply choose to not care about anything. I found myself constantly surprised by the different options I could pick from, and part of the reason this feature was so entertaining to me is because the game throws a large cast of different characters your way, with many of these interactions giving you the ability to choose just how serious or plain ridiculous you want them to play out. Throughout my time playing, I experienced constant shifts in emotion, as the scene would be intense, moving, and sad, only to be laughing hysterically in the next scene. While crafting your story can certainly be entertaining, the survival and navigation aspects seem to be lacking the same allure. Traversing the city in Disaster Report is tedious, and just plain frustrating at times, with movement controls leaving a lot to be desired. Players will find their normal walking speed to be impossibly slow, forcing players to hold the run button for most of the game, and when disaster strikes, players are forced to enter a crouched state, or run the risk of falling over and taking damage. Navigating the city does keep the player on their toes, however, as buildings, floors, and all manner of debris will collapse throughout the map, and if you're not cautious, you'll find yourself in the game over screen. While progression through the game is made through interactions with certain characters, traversing the city, acquiring loot, managing needs, and getting past obstacles can feel like more of a hindrance than a reward at times, with the speed at which you do these things being the root of the problem. When it comes to sound design, the game is fairly quiet, with virtually no background music playing for long stretches of the playthrough. But there are moments when music is played during certain scenes that seem to really show the true intended beauty of the game. The music in the game is moving, and I found myself wishing it would be utilized more. Just when the nuances of movement, lifeless NPCs, and frustrating level design dwindled my interest in the game, I find myself being pulled right back in by the game's cinematics. While sometimes seeming a little over the top, it definitely piqued my interest. I found that I enjoyed the game a lot more when I was able to see how my decisions played out, and how scenes with other characters would be shaped by my actions or inactions. In those moments, I felt truly immersed in the game world, and genuinely cared about the stories of the people around me. At Checkpoint, we believe a numerical system doesn't really represent the quality of a game. Numbers don't tell the full story, so we rate games on a try, buy, or wait scale, to help you decide how to get the most out of your purchases. Ultimately, when it came down to my experience with the game, I found it just interesting enough to keep me playing, but found it a little underwhelming more times than not, with many great opportunities for the game to keep me immersed and engaged, just being slightly off the mark. And while the game is certainly enjoyable when you focus on certain elements of the story, at a $60 price tag, it seems like this is an experience you'd probably want to try out beforehand. Fortunately, there's a demo currently available on all platforms. If you are interested in getting the game, I recommend you do so on the PC. Players hoping to get the title on console will want to wait until they fix the frame rate issues. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel. If you want more gaming discussion content, consider checking out my Drexellence YouTube channel. Also, be sure to stay up to date with all the gaming news and reviews over at checkpointmediaworks.com.